Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
One meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer. I have Supervisor Dave Buckwalter, Vice Chair John Blowers, Supervisor Ethan Demi, and Supervisor Glenn Eberly. Last meeting for Glenn, second last meeting for Dave. Welcome to all the families. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Pledge to the Flag. Please join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. We have a few items of note, gentlemen. We have first approval of the December 6th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Supervisors, our meeting agenda. We have B, approval of minutes of the Tuesday, October 26th special meeting. C, approval of minutes of the Monday, November 15th, 2021 regular meeting. And then we also have approval to pay invoices from all funds. It's a total of $486,490.46. There are two items of note. First is $63,750 for fourth quarter contributions to the fire companies, $15,937.50 to each of our four volunteer companies. I was mentioning to Chief Keynes, we've had a pretty busy day today. Unfortunately, I think we had a loss of life on the east side of the township in a car accident. And then also $9,250 for fourth quarter contributions to our libraries. That is split $4,255 to Lancaster, $3,145 to Manheim Township, and $1,850 to Peckway Valley. That is our full consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Okay, we have a motion made by John. Second. Second, Ethan. Is that Ethan or was it Glenn?
It was me.
Oh, was it? That was a sound thing. Okay, second by Ethan. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public on the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have recognition of life-saving action. Ms. Aviles, did I say your name right? I practiced. You can come up to the front. So throughout the year, we get to recognize members of the community that go above and beyond the call of duty. It gives me great pleasure to present this award for your heroic actions in saving Mr. Barry Flory's life. We're saddened to hear of Mr. Flory's passing recently from cancer on November 23rd. On behalf of Mr. Flory's family and the Board of Supervisors, allow me to present you with this award, and I'll read it. On Monday, October 25th, 2021, at approximately 8:55 a.m., you observed your neighbor, Mr. Barry Flory, at the threshold of his residence door. With an unknown source of smoke emanating from the door and windows of Mr. Flory's home, recognizing the dangers of a potential full house fire and with an awareness of Mr. Flory's physical disability, you ran to his assistance. Without thought or concern for your own safety, you carried Mr. Flory to the bottom of his handicap ramp, where you were further assisted by responding officers. In moving Mr. Flory to safety, your quick thinking and heroic actions are in keeping with the greatest gift we can give as human beings. In recognition of and appreciation for your heroic actions, the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors hereby presents this life-saving award this 6th day of December 2021. Thank you, sir. Katrina, do you want to first introduce your family?
All right.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Katrina, also in attendance, we have State Representative Keith Reiner, and he has a citation from.
Just for the background, some of the people here know I'm a life member of the fire company over at Lake Cock, and was a firefighter for many years, and actually fought fire for a decade over in New York. And can't say enough for what we teach and what I teach isn't taught, what you did with the true active. And like I said, it's tough. But what you did, and the police were contacted, Chief Kings, he told me, the police were asked how much what they had into it, and they did it all. And I just want to share that in addition to, somewhat did surprise me because of the service of our country also. And I want to thank you. And through the process, I reached out to you. I said I wanted the House of Representatives to get a citation. This is true. And it is special. And I wanted to read the citation from the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. And it says here, whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania always takes great pride in recognizing those individuals who do their good and self-esteem, bring great credit to themselves, their communities, and this Commonwealth. And whereas Katrina Evans is being honored for risking her life to save our neighbor from his. And whereas on the morning of October 25th, 2021, Ms. Evans was driving on Maple Street in East Lampeter Township when she heard smoke coming from the windows of her neighbor's house. Her elderly neighbor had called 911 and was unable to escape from the home due to mobility issues. Mr. Evans ran into the home, put his arms around her. He put his arms around her neck and carried him outside of her back. A true hero, her quick and unflinching response to that life-threatening situation reflects most highly on her. I don't know if we all remember. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania keeps tribute to Katrina for putting aside her own safety in the face of danger for the good of others, offers best wishes for her future success and happiness, and directs that a copy of this citation, sponsored by the Honorable on October 26, 2021, be transmitted to Katrina Evans, 54 Hickory Drive, signed by myself, Speaker of the House, and Brooke Wheeler, of the House of Representatives. So I wanted to share that.
Chief, please come up. Just get on the microphone.
So I heard the stories.
Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to move on to number 6, Supervisor Recognition. I'll start with Dave first. Mr. Buckwalter. Remember the first time meeting Mr. Buckwalter at his house on Old Philadelphia Pike? Ethan and I were looking to throw our hats into the ring to run for supervisor. Not really sure why we took the time to meet with Dave over coffee. Dave knew where we lived, who our spouses were, where they worked, what we ate for dinner the night before, what soccer team our kids played on, and many other rare facts about us. He didn't let us know that he knew this information at that time. We met with him, but now we know. Dave comes prepared and has a memory that could battle Google and Wikipedia. Well, at least East Lampeder Wikipedia. And I'm going to go off script for a second.
You better stay on script.
I'm going to stay on script. If you need to know who owns a property at any address in East Lampeder, don't check Google, just ask Dave. And by the way, he's likely related to that person you're asking about. Aren't you guys related? He's getting red, so I think I'm doing okay. Dave, thank you for the service to our community. Dave's been an amazing mentor and sounding board over the last 8 years that I've served with him. You'll be missed on the board. Thank you, Dave.
Do I get to say something?
You can
eventually?
say something. You may. I still have more to say, but please, no, I'm done for now. My prepared comments are done.
Well,
Please,
I
Dave.
tell you, Corey, John, you served as leaders recently, and for me, it was a great honor to serve with you gentlemen. Glenn served as chair also during my tenure, but I've been honored to serve in this capacity. I am so proud of our staff that Ralph has assembled here. What a group of fine people. So the 18 years on the board have been enjoyable for me. So, but thanks for the kind words.
Thank you, Dave. Do you want to introduce your family real quick?
Glad to, yeah. My wife Gail is here.
Gail.
My oldest son Matthew is here. Then my daughter Rachel, and our youngest son Aaron. So the baby.
Awesome.
Glad you could come.
Thank you all for coming. Let me read this real quick, then we'll move over to Glenn, and believe me, I got words for you as well. Presented to Dave Buckwalter. This is just unbelievable. Glenn's is amazing as well, but in recognition of and grateful appreciation for outstanding service to East Lampeder Township. Having served as a member of the East Lampeder Sewer Authority from June 1998 to November 1999, including service as a vice chairman during that time, serving as a member of the East Lampeder Township Planning Commission for 4 years, January 2000 to December 2003, and then serving as East Lampeder Township Board of Supervisors for 18 years, January 2004 to December 2021, including chairman from January 2008 to December 2013, and from January 2017 to December 2018, vice chairman from January 2006 to December 2007, and January 2014 to December 2016. Total of more than 23 years of service to East Lampeder Township. Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Who next?
You also received certification from PSATs, which I'll give to you as well. This meeting is making me cry. Okay, Dave.
Thanks, Corey.
Glenn. What a ride. What makes a community great are volunteers and public servants that put the community in front of our own personal agenda. Glenn is that person. I learn a new amazing fact about Glenn every time we chat. The band, was it a rock band?
No.
The band?
No.
I think Linda was in that band too,
She was.
right? Yep. The championship softball teams. I mean, we learned he's a championship softball player like 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, yeah, he's going to the Olympics. His love of basketball, the trips to Sarasota, the family man. Glenn has been the rock of the Board of Supervisors, serving for 30 years and as chairman or vice chairman for 12 of those years. I'll miss Glenn's logical, straightforward approach to the issue at hand. He knows his community inside and out. He loves our community. Never looks for accolades, power, or attention. He does his job for the love of the community. Thank you, Glenn. I'll miss looking to my left for your straightforward guidance. Thank you both. I'll read this, like I said, probably. Let's see if I can get it out here. Sorry. Okay. So in recognition of and grateful appreciation for outstanding service, having served as a member of the East Lampeter Township Board of Auditors from January 1988 through December 1991, including service as vice chairman from 1988 to December 91, serving as a member of the Board of Supervisors for 30 years, January 1992 through December 2021, including vice chair from January 96 to December 2002, and then chairman from 2003 to 2007 for a total of 34 years of service to East Lampeter Township. Wow. Thank you, Buckwalter and Eberly families for coming. You know,
Corey, if I
Yeah.
just
I
a
went
comment.
Clinton. Yeah, go. Please
Oh,
go.
I'm sorry,
No, no,
Glenn, you go first.
Yeah.
You go first.
Well,
Go
it's my family. My son Blade is in the middle. My wife Linda is on the right. And my granddaughter and grandson are hiding there somewhere. Breck and Lacey, and then my daughter Bree and her husband Johnny, and the little baby Jovi in the cradle there. So that's my family.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah.
Dave, back to you.
Well, just a comment, compliment how we work together. There's a lot of boards that struggle getting along. This group, it's just been a pleasure working with you guys. We don't always have unanimous votes, but we always go out and we're friends, and I've appreciated the years I served with all.
And it's been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
For 30 years. It's been fantastic. It's been great working with the staff and the police department. It's just, I'm going to miss it. It's been great working with this.
We'll get you involved. We have unpaid positions too.
Yeah, I'm proud to say that I'm in East Lampeter Township
That's right.
based on what's going on in here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure serving with you, and we all learned a lot. And it's going to be new era with Mr. Thornton and Mr. Rutt back in action.
Yep.
And maybe John Schertzer will come back for something else, right? Right, John? Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments from anyone else? Yeah, please, John.
Thanks. Yeah, Dave, friends, longtime family acquaintances, neighbors, obviously, fellow citizens who definitely serve you. Sometimes make some hard decisions. You might not understand, because you put a lot of time coming to understand the issues and what the governance is. Sometimes you have to make those decisions, and you kind of get an odd look from a neighbor, or you may not have someone talk to you for a little bit. I don't agree. It's worth every cent that you can do this. But I do want to say communities are better off because that's about East Lampeter, we weren't as large as Manhattan Township. Don't have as much farmland as Peckway. We have a mixture of rural and suburban and urban on our west side. We have 4 fire companies. State rep has served this community, our community, for almost the entire life. 4 fire companies are volunteers. He's one of our chiefs. The community is made up of people who step forward, both stepping up 8 years ago to serve and represent the role. For the most part, as volunteers, we couldn't do it with the staff. You know, most people don't realize that to volunteer members of the board have to be involved. We have to learn things. We have to have our voice heard. We have to step up. We can't do it with the staff. And they are day-to-day, full-time individuals who help to carry out the community. And so we should do it. And when did you first step in and get involved in this?
I don't remember.
34 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
34 years ago.
34 years. How long have you worked?
30.
30 years.
A lot of history.
Pretty much walk that path together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And John, I'm glad that you said earlier that you're aiming for 40 years. So good job.
I don't think we're afraid of the rest of it.
Okay. Families, if you want to leave, or if you want to stay, you're allowed to stay, but I'm assuming you're going to all get up in the next 10 seconds. So I'll let you do that at your pace. Here's our tax collector.
Bye.
Oh, want to get a picture? Oh, we can.
Yeah,
get a
go,
picture.
you got time.
Somewhere, get a picture somewhere.
Give you 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For the picture.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Get him in front of the flag or something. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, get in there. That's good. Okay. Oh, one more. Okay, now thank you. You guys. Yeah.
See you, Matt.
Bye, guys.
Thank
See
you.
you. Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks
Take
for
care,
coming.
guys.
Thanks for coming, John.
Two of us.
See you, John.
Take one of the, Dave and I together.
Who should we be looking at?
All right, good. Guys,
Get in
come up
there.
here quick.
Get in there, Linda.
Come on. Everyone stand down here.
Corey. Can I have one of these boxes?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just put her back in there.
I think this is actually yours.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, that-
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming. Oh, we're not done? One more time. Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you. Good to see you, Linda.
Bye, guys. Take
Merry
care.
Christmas to you guys.
See you, Aaron. I know.
Okay. We have a few items on old business. Move quickly on. We have 7A, time extension report, conditionally approved plan, 21-7 Ben Franklin Boulevard. Applicants requesting extension to May 31st, 2022 to record this plan. No other comments from applicant? Good.
So moved.
So moved by Glenn,
Second.
second by John. Any other comments from the board or the public? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 7B, request for a time extension, record conditionally approved plan 2117 Greenfield North. Applicants requesting extension to May 31st, 2022 to record this land development plan. Any other comments? Do I have a motion? So, Glenn,
Second.
second by John. Any other comments from the board or the public? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 7C, Greenfield North Land Development Plan, 2117, condition of approval. Tony? Do you think it's best if you mind picking up the microphone and talking into it?
Thank you,
Okay,
Tony.
perfect. Just-
That's good.
I'm sure it's much better. Good.
It's only.
Good evening, my name is Tony Sykes, I'm with High Associates, and I'm accompanied tonight by our counsel, Warren Stanley, and Bruce Wallace, and our design engineer, Dave Miller. Let me say at the outset, I'm Supervisor service, and certainly thank you for your service. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the board for, of course, giving us the opportunity to come back tonight and talk to you about a bit of unfinished business in September 2022. This unfinished business, of course, relates to the park, rec, and open space discussion with regards to Greenfield Park. This all relates to the saldo demonstrated in the submission for Greenfield North to satisfy the zoning space requirement. As with previous projects, we came in with a request to use the Greenfield campus amenities, primarily the trail network, the exercise stations, the pavilions, the ponds available for fishing and other activities, the outdoor areas where exercise takes place, to satisfy the Salvos Park, Rec, and open space requirements. That was our request at the September 20th meeting. It remains our request this evening. We're going to obviously offer some details about that. We had an extended discussion on September 20th. I think we heard loud and clear from the board that it's important to come back with data, with calculations that support our request to use the Greenfield campus amenities, and also to look at what the Greenfield North apartment complex will provide in terms of park and rec, open space, relate that to the Salvo, and also relate to the campus to the Salvo. We've heard from you that you needed that data, that you needed those calculations in order to provide us feedback, in order to render a decision. And we've gone through a number of iterations. The latest iteration, and it reflects comments that we received from conversations leading up to this meeting. And I hope that you will see it as a very good faith effort to look back at the campus and at the north related to the Salvo ordinance and provide you that data that you requested. It's inherently an after the fact exercise. I get that. Many of these improvements we built long before the Salvo was enacted. We understand that. We understand that there may be differences as we look at with the big things that primary rec space versus greenway space. I understand it. Again, what I hope you see is a good faith effort. We believe we've got the data to support the findings that the campus comes very close to meeting its primary rec space requirement, and we're well over on the greenway open space. In terms of agenda for tonight, I'm going to turn, once I'm done with the introduction, the brief introduction, I'm going to turn to Mark Stanley. I'm going to ask him to go over the chronology a little bit and also share our read of the ordinance and key provisions of the ordinance that supports the request that we're going to make tonight. Then I'm going to turn to Dave Miller. He'll review the findings for the open space calculation, both with regard to Greenfield North and then with regard to the campus. And then finally, Mark and I will wrap up with the question and summarize what we shared tonight. Okay. Before I turn to Mark, there's just 3 points I want to make at the outset about the information you're going to see tonight. First, in recognition that the Salvo has established different needs for an applicant to satisfy in Section 518, we've added cost data that you haven't seen before today. We've added cost data for the key recreational components of the Greenfield North Improvement Plan. The estimates that we shared come directly from High Construction. They were part of a bid that was presented to ownership in mid-October. So we haven't had it that long since we received it. We've been going over it in detail. But the numbers that you have come directly from that bid. High Construction got great coverage in that bid. And we're very confident on Greenfield as part of this analysis. We said if the asset we would do that, but I thought that was important context information for the board to have this evening. And then finally, for illustrative purposes, we're offering potential comparable values for the pre-development fair market value of open space. These comps were selected by Eric Langmeyer, who is our Director of Appraisal Services at High Real Estate Group. He's got decades of experience doing appraisal work in Lancaster County and St. Peter Township. And he selected the particular properties that are included in those comparable, in that comparable set. There's going to be more on that later, but I want you to know where that information came from. So we've got some information here tonight. Unless I hear any questions at this point, I'm just trying
Say keep going. Yep.
keep going.
Yep.
You could.
Good evening.
Any more?
Tell me, stole my thunder a little bit. As always, our project team gets together and lays this out, outlines everything we're going to say, who's going to say it, and Cook gets up and says. But he did it so well, I'm going to try to skip over a number of the points. From a chronological perspective, a lot of this goes back even before the September 20th. September 20th, additional approval of the report, and as the minutes reflect, there was considerable discussion about the Sullivan Park directive. Request by the board for us to go back and look at the Greenfield North and how we are satisfying Sullivan. But also because, as Tony mentioned, we're very proud of what's been done. We have relied on that in the past to address Sullivan as we move forward. So what have we been doing September 20th tonight? First, we went back and looked at the structure of the work. Second, we've gone through multiple drafts, building off of future drafts, adding additional information, taking out some information that might satisfy the written word, but not necessarily the department. Third, we had a meeting with staff over at High to review the current status of that. And we got some feedback on what we would do. Two of the points, as Tony mentioned, like was how we looked at sidewalks, how we classified the sidewalks, how we treated them. And the second were some of the comments. Regarding the sidewalks, we only included segments of the sidewalks in our analysis of primary recreation space. They were part of the reported and approved Greenway Trail. That plan is the board. The effort was collaborative efforts between I and township create that plan of the not only trail system, the trail, the sidewalk, and that plan through very lengthy process and ultimately approved by the board.
What year was that approved approximately?
2 years ago.
Okay.
2020.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Regarding the ponds, we have included a couple of those in the analysis category, the primary or active rec, but only if they serve multiple purposes. Multiple purposes that some of the ponds that Dave has depicted and some of the image boards have been used for fishing, discourage them, the plan actually stated on you're going to get a lot more of this analysis today. Now, the ordinance structure, which is the important purposes of how we satisfy, is starts with the foundation, the mandatory foundation, and then provides different options that an applicant has to offer to the township. And as Supervisor Recognition, 20th meeting, there's a lot of discretion that the board has how the Department of Corrections express ordinance deals with both residential and non-residential. And from a residential perspective, one thing I'd just like to point out, I don't see it as a factor in our analysis, but the structure of the ordinance, in our opinion, negatively impacts and penalizes multifamily projects. The multifamily projects that we work on collaborative township have been an effort to go vertical, increase the density, preserve farmland and other open space. If you look at the structure where you start out with the number of units times by the multiplier of a certain acre, and you increase the number of units, necessarily increase the number of acres that have to set aside. A large single family development, you might have a 50-acre single family detached project that would have to, under the current structure, only have to set aside 1.7 acres. Potentially pay $28,000 or create a top line that may not be utilized for either the residents or the residents of the township. Strict application, the mandatory set aside for Greenfield North, which is a 27-acre project, would require us to dedicate 16.6 acres. I love giving Tara assignments, and since this is my last municipal meeting, I'm going to mention this. Other municipalities that I've worked with look at multifamily projects differently. Parking open space, parking open space requirement. They do it because of that unanticipated consequences of promoting multifamily that will penalize it when it comes to a park, rec, open space requirement. The most recent project I worked on involved a situation where the number of acres set aside in mandatory park space were more acres than the project actually entailed. So we had a 16-acre tract, and under the project, we were required to provide 20 acres of parking. And it's a little difficult. So I will be glad to share some analysis with you. The number of municipalities look at projects different. Other projects, as always, update the ordinances.
Ready.
You can look at it.
That's my job.
Is it your job to do it or to delegate?
To direct.
Mark, are those
Give assignments.
municipalities boroughs or are they townships similar to, our makeup?
Some are boroughs, some are
Okay.
counties. One that I would point to,
Mhm.
and actually involved in the development of
Yeah. Right. Which went vertical. Yeah.
Applied it without its permitted project. Either because of the open space part of for the fee that had been paid. So part of that is a review from the county, some of the surrounding counties, part of the recommendation. Work with the borough to amend their ordinance so that they can that will go right. Options that ordinance as much ordinance prevent to construct improve existing recreation facilities. Here, recreation. Believe that what we are providing for Greenfield with two different types of open space required and recreational facilities that are providing on site that utilize residents of the development, therefore take pressure off this township park and rec facility that would satisfy park and rec. I also want to show you tonight, as Tony mentioned, we dug deep into the overall campus to look at what would be required. And again, a lot of this is looking at it after the fact. Either not having partner Greenfield. Didn't start off. Greenfield corporate center.
This is industrial park.
Industrial, right.
That's what it was, Greenfield Industrial Park.
Yeah.
Corporate center to Greenfield. Excluded. What we and look at the residential components of Greenfield, non-residential components of Greenfield. What would be required for the primary? What would be required for purposes of Greenfield? They dug into the grade, excluded areas of the Greenway that did not satisfy the grade requirements, and numbers that we ended up with indicate that from a primary perspective, we found there may be a disagreement, there may be interpretation of what's included in primary, it won't be better put into Greenway. There's some ambiguity in ordinance. That from a primary perspective, we essentially satisfy the requirements for the user. And from a Greenway perspective, we significantly exceed the requirements for the residential uses and non-residential that are included. So that is the background. What I'd like to do the presentation of the day more, unless
Yeah, any questions
anybody has a question.
for Mark? Okay,
Nothing.
okay,
That's it.
let's go to Dave. Sure, yep.
Two. And what I'll do is walk you through some generalities, starting with the Greenfield North, and then the entire Greenfield campus, and then we can dig into some of the numbers. So the Greenfield North This is the overall Greenfield campus. It's the campus Greenfield North and some in the northwest corner. It's marked at about 27 acres. We have 615 proposed residential units on that 27-acre tract, and it is bounded by Willow, Greenfield Road, Walmart south, and on the east side is a tributary to Stopper Run, which is improved carrying corridor, which is an amenity unto itself. But also with Greenfield North, Hive providing the clubhouse, pool, dog park, there's a pet wash facility. There is the courtyards will have some nice amenities for the residents. Also, in addition to the very plantings, and then a trail, the campus-wide trail will be expanded within Greenfield North, and a path along the very corridor, and then fully moving around the site there. And we'll dig into some numbers a little bit, just to give you an overall flavor of we also looked at the overall campus of Greenfield, and it's a little bit hard to see. It actually shows up a little bit brighter on the screen there. We evaluated, as Mark was saying, that Sallow has two different designations. There's the primary recreational areas, and then there's the green ones.
Mhm.
So we evaluated the campus, and if you can see the blue, which is basically following Stop and Run.
Yep.
Here, and then going to make tributary through there. That blue pattern is floodlight. And that we do not count as recreational. Now, there are some ponds within that floodplain. There's also some very usable area within the floodplain, except during a storm. And but still, we do not count that as primary areas. There are ponds, green, especially along here. There are ponds that are outside the floodplain that are used for recreational purposes, and those we did consider as part of the recreation. The red, I can talk a little bit more about that. The red is the trail network throughout the campus. So there's the trail network that was on the previously discussed RGS plan. And then we had Greenfield North, we had other paths that were not messed up. We'll talk about. We'll look at some photos that I think will be helpful for you, as well as where they're located on the board. There are, so what are these open spaces? There are tennis courts within the campus. There are, as we talked about, numerous lakes that are surrounded by trail network. There's benches. There's benches. The lakes and waterways are used for fishing. Benches along. Beautiful facility here, the pagoda, and there the bridge. There's the pavilion, Calvin High Pavilion, that is used for events, sometimes larger events, sometimes smaller events, but that is a great amenity for the campus. Got a fellow here with his toy boat, and this is recreating at these facilities. And if you've been through the campus, you see the statues, sculptures. It's not, this is above and beyond type of amenities that are offered within the campus. And just a great setting. Tennis courts, we mentioned. There along the paths, there are exercise signage and facilities. And again, these are not just iron bars, as you might typically see. This is actually a vault bar, and it's carved statues of bears with the timber between it. And there's sculptures of frogs. It's just, again, very, very special. And signage throughout the trail network, playgrounds, yoga. There are actually classes offered at certain times of the year for yoga, we gather together for that. And and this is just a brief sample of the photographs. But those are scattered throughout. So with that, we did look at the calculations. It's a double-sided sheet. And that's Greenfield, so Greenfield top, campus park, space. These are the calculations that we put together. First of all, how much open space is required to get right now? There are, this is including 615 proposed units for Greenfield North, 1,440 dwelling units, and the rate of 0.027 acres per dwelling unit, that would give a requirement of 38.9 acres. And then there's a requirement for non-residential uses. And what we've looked at for that is the ordinance has some exemptions. Most of the non-residential uses are counted. Anything that is not developed yet is not counted. Anything under 2 acres is not required to be counted. And school uses. We've got Peter College of Health Sciences, we have Thaddeus Stevens here, and then a second Thaddeus facility down there. So those are not counted calculations for ordinance. We also, the ordinance speaks to right-of-ways. And so the street right-of-ways are considered within calculations as well. So when we look at non-residential uses, let's say 358 acres, and 2.5% of that area is required space for the cell. So round number is 9 acres. So if we add the two together, the residential and non-residential, the requirement is 47.8 acres. And what we're showing on our map is 90.2 acres. So well over what's required. And when you break it down for ordinance requirements, there's primary recreational space, which is a minimum of 70% of the required area is part of the recreation space. So 70% of 47.8 is 32.5, and we calculated 32.6. So just shy of that. Everything else can be greenway, maximum 30%, 14.3 acres would be required for 57.6 acres. So that's what the ordinance. And just a real brief summary of the difference between the recreation and greenway. streetways, you have floodplains, stormwater management facilities, slopes, 10% and greater. Those are break down here trails and sidewalks. I won't go into details, but in essence, there are 7.5 acres of trails and sidewalks, and that's based on assumed width of 5 feet for the most part. That's not easements like that. That's the actual trail, 7.5 acres, and did count that towards recreation space. And then we further break down that sidewalks versus trails. So again, more detail on the flip side of that. Again, some detail about the areas, breakdown of the space per slopes. And then the very last line, I said there are some areas that we did not count for recreational use, or really in a practical sense are available. That would be this large pond at Greenfield Estates and the green area surrounding that, as well as a nice green space on the east side of Greenfield Road there. It's flat, it's very, very suitable for cabin, bocce, whatever, cornhole, whatever you want to do. It's just we didn't count because, yeah, it's so that is an overview of the entire campus. Again, we're well over on the green space, and we are just shy.
Of course, the exact includes that assumes the full build out.
Yes, yes, right. That 650 units.
You're saying that, Tony, because they're going to be built in phases per se, not all at the same
I
time.
just wanted to make it abundantly clear that that's factored into when we're looking at
The full.
you have to look at
Right.
the whole,
Yeah.
it's factored in the full build out.
Got it.
So if you look at the numbers for Greenfield North, I'll go quickly. This is a 2-page handout. We have that. Here's Mark. Stated with 650 units, we require 16.6 acres of open space based on 7 acres per unit. The breakdown between the primary recreation space of 70% with require 11.6 acres of the recreation space. We're providing 3.3 acres. On the greenway space, which we 30% of 30% is 30% requires 16.6 is 5 acres, and we're providing 6. And the breakdown would be the area along the tributary to Stone Run. That is freeway space and the amenities provided within the development itself. 12,000 trails and courtyards. Those are considered primary space. That page 2, that is those numbers are restated. Yeah, so the greenway, we are meeting requirements, 5 acres required, 6.4 provided,
primary work space. We are short, we look at the standard line. At this point, we'll turn it back to Tony to finish up.
Just very briefly, I'll just walk through the rest of the data. That page 2 of 2. As I mentioned in the introduction, in the alternative, we did look at the fair market value as an applicant would if you were looking to meet the requirements under the payment in lieu of. And as I mentioned, there are 3 parcels here within Greenfield that were considered as comparable. These were offered by our administrator. He basically did he reviewed all of the green space within Greenfield, the pre-development conditions for each phase as part of the last countywide reassessment in 2018. I spent a bit of time on that. Some of the evaluations were challenged and reduced on the field. Since these properties, these special properties typically don't change, and Eric felt that 2018 values that were established represent fair market value, 100% market value after adjustment by the common level ratio. So I think the table is pretty self-explanatory. It links the parcels to the map in front of you. The assessed value comes directly from the county record, the common level ratio. It speaks for itself, and you apply market value to the product of the assessed value and common level ratio. Then we developed the value per acre. And what we did in relating back to fair market value for purposes of providing the average that came out to the 20,500 per acre, relating that back to the 7.8 acre shortage that generates potential fee in lieu of $160,196. I recognize again there are different ways to look at this. These are comparables that we selected based on kind of an open space directive. Looking at that within the Greenfield campus, that is, I think, a representative value for it. So, it's certainly not something we're offering. It's not something we're suggesting. It's suggesting that it's different for us here. But I wanted to offer that context. On going through the number of different ways that an applicant can satisfy the space requirement, parking rec space requirement. Another is the value of improvements of construction. We talked about this at the outset. I mentioned where this cost came from. I've got a book beside the telephone book in my office with this full database on the set of plans, a very detailed set of drawings that have been October, and these figures come directly from that bid. So I've got a pretty good degree of confidence in the numbers. The clubhouse, as you mentioned, the Stanford clubhouse, that's 8,000 square foot facility, the pool, and the pool hardscape itself. That is quite a facility between the pool and the amenities around the pool, fire, grill, the amenities. Really outdoor kids related to that pool, special place, dog park, pet wash, really important for us to get a lot of use and very included here. And I also included the figures for the exterior, the amenities with the exterior. Just listed a couple of here, the putting green, possible, again, more grill. Fire pit and landscape related I did not include, and I should have, the cost for the trail that one way and the trailer one way around that facility. I don't all figure out. So in conclusion, I know we've given you a lot of information tonight. Obviously, we spent a lot of time thinking about this. The guidance that we received on September 20th, the conversation had since, and a lot of work we're here tonight. Obviously, offering making more questions because we really do feel the campus and the amenities of the field will more than satisfy the parks, restaurant, this parks or anything you want to add.
You talked about just purposes of providing information to the township about the costs associated with the trail. That continues to be ongoing because part of the trail network plan requires a permit.
Thank you.
Submitted, DEP, and those are very others that easy to say, very difficult to find perspective and actually come. But through joint permit, there'll be additional trail connections. Correct.
1.1 million. I was remiss in thanking Mark for reminding me of that. That's not included on the cost data that you see. It's certainly referenced in Dave's material where it calls out the RGS trail. And those calculations were included in the Park and Rec calculations with regard to the campus. But the dollar figure was not, and it's 1.1. That almost 10 acres. I'm sorry. 10 miles.
Yeah, so just so I understand, so I see in this note 7 on this page.
Mike.
I'm sorry.
We've got media.
Yeah, Tony,
Repeat that?
I think my question might clarify. I'm reading per RGS calculations, current length of trail network is 9.67 miles. RGS calculates the total length of pedestrian trail network to be 10.38 miles by 2022. The 1.1 million figure that you just said, is that for the additional 1 mile or is it for all 10.38 miles? Okay. Okay. And then earlier, I think Tony, you said it, I wrote down quickly, $250,000 for engineering costs for the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway across the street.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
And those going for, as you can imagine, at this point, pretty well expensive.
Yep. Okay. Great presentation. I feel like I followed you the entire time. Summary shared a lot of information about the entire Greenfield Corporate Center, now just called Greenfield. And that was based on the conversation from the board meeting in September, where we were looking at, the totality of the whole entire complex, because it seemed like it kept going back to the well per se. So you showed us math around the entire campus. And then most recently, over the last 5 or 10 minutes, you shared information specifically on Greenfield North, which is in that upper left-hand corner. And you also just shared with us payment in lieu based on assumptions, implied market value based on what you just described from tax records plus 3 other properties of similar nature. Okay. Gentlemen.
A quick question, if I
Sure.
may, regarding the fair market value. Tony, you were saying that is a 2018 number, but was it adjusted for common level ratio?
Yes.
Okay.
As adjusted.
Okay.
Spreadsheet that we attached to the one.
Yep.
Shows the assessed value, actual went through the county assessment. County level ratio factor, not need to multiply, to get to fair market value. If you work, it does say pre-development value as opposed to current fair market value. Sometimes raises the name, specifically said pre-development value.
And that wasn't the original value from the county. You guys went to get that reassessed at some point, or you appealed
2018.
at 2018. The full, when was the full countywide assessment.
That's my understanding.
Was that 2018? And then,
It was 15.
It was 15.
2015.
okay, and then, so
But in 18 is
but in
when
18 is when you had it reassessed. You appealed the assessment essentially, and that's the value that we're seeing there times the CLR gets the implied market value. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, other questions?
No, that was, I may have more later, but
Yeah.
yeah.
John, Ethan, Glenn?
Couple of quick questions. So the existing recreation space that's listed here, what's the guarantee that this remains recreation and open space going forward?
There is a recorded plan that provides anybody who's taking the subject the ability to access the first to have the initial benefit and reporting it. The landowners that is under the subject that have those rights. Sometimes that's supplemented by easement. That's not.
And then for the buildings you have listed as currently under use of a school, if the school moved out, could someone who's not a school move into those buildings?
That would trigger an examination at that point. Specifically, permits the school to be excluded for purposes of non-resident.
So what would you suggest we do if, say, that one of these schools moves out and a business moves in?
At that point in time, I believe it's
And then my final one is more towards staff is we've got numbers of required acreage and provided acreage. Do we all agree on those numbers? Do we have a common set of facts we're working on is the big question.
Yeah, so I guess if I can, I'm not going to answer your question just yet, Ethan. So, the three issues that are probably hanging out there for me, Corey, is the calculation of the primary recreation.
Right.
Ethan's,
Right.
Ethan's point there throughout the business park, use of sidewalks, which
Versus trails.
most any, development is, needs to put in sidewalks versus trails.
Yeah.
Use of stormwater retention, areas versus non. That's the first question that's coming up in my head. The second would be, getting to the calculation of the fair market value, and that's coming up as well too.
Mhm.
And then I guess the third would be is recognizing the role that the applicant is playing in the pre-construction planning and engineering for the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway. Those are three issues that are coming up in my head at this point. Not as I don't have anything to throw out on the table. I'm looking for I guess for discussion on that.
Yeah. So I think we're going to get to your question as well. Glenn, any other questions? I like actually how you framed those points. Let's go with one. Just repeat that. Yeah, and actually, before you go, Mark, that's actually a question that I have. I was not at that September meeting. I do realize, and I did listen to it, but it was hard to listen at certain points. We asked Hi and team to look at the full gamut. I frankly would rather have a conversation specifically about Greenfield North and see if we can come to an agreement, because I think it's a simpler ask. And if we can't come to an agreement there, let's then open it up to the entire park.
Second step. Can provide additional backup information. This acreage, this length of sidewalk, this number of acres of calculation. But the initial ask, come back, provide information on how to satisfy park and rec for this associated with the Greenfield or land development. And the second ask was if we weren't satisfying
Mhm.
Greenfield or either because of
Right.
the mandatory education or one of the alternatives would be the construction of new recreation facility and relying on trail network that we always reference how food and you're not double dipping.
Mhm.
And so we provided a second set of analysis, right, which we'll be happy to provide back information to staff on that. There we say, including Greenfield, including lots 4, 5, 6, and 7, including the existing residential and the non-residential, we believe is satisfied. But I don't, I would prefer not to see, so draw lines in the sand. Taking me a while. But I would prefer to focus the ask. And if the board's comfortable saying, what you're providing with the greenway, what you're providing with the open space, in connection with the value of the amenities, the recreation facility constructed at Greenfield North, we satisfy the park and rec. Even if we disagree on the potential redevelopment value, we've given you free capital, utilize capital ratio factor in fair market value, but between that figure and the cost of the amenities for Greenfield North, which is utilized by the residents, therefore take pressure off any existing township facilities. It's a factor of 10. And so it's our position in our ask that with respect to Greenfield North, we satisfy the park director with SOLA. And we will be glad to continue to work with this board, the future board, with 2 of our supervisors that have been, and staff with respect to greater campus numbers and calculations.
Okay. That probably helps me to understand how we may address point number 1.
Right.
And I'm okay doing that too, though I think, the effort that the applicant's gone through to help them speak to the larger question. I think Ethan may have asked that, Corey, you weren't here, but Ethan had implied, I guess, in the question that he was asking that maybe we should look at that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I should add a fourth. I wrote it down, Mark, as you were talking there. It's the saldo support for increasing densities of development. Mark had brought that up at the beginning, just saying, hey, or maybe it was Tony, I forget. But perhaps there could be something in your ordinance, in your saldo that is running counter to or not perhaps maybe supportive of these increasing densities,
especially vertical density.
Multifamily, I think is how. And I would say that that's a question I have too that comes up. So those, I'm just framing my thoughts right now.
Great. Yeah, I mean, Mark, as you were talking about Greater Lancaster, if we talking about Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway, let me finish that one. I believe the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway is for the benefit of the entire campus. It's not just for the benefit of Lancaster North or Greenfield North. Thank you. I think we can all agree on that. I realize $250,000 was spent on that, but I'm concerned. It's great that you guys went back and calculated it for the entire campus, but I think that also sets precedent for anyone else that's developing over years, multiple phases of projects that are close together to each other, but they're separate projects. So each project, frankly, on its own should meet the criteria, because you could sell to some other for-profit. You could sell to a non, who knows? You could be gone. And I realize we have a full plan. You shared the plan when you came in a couple of years ago, but I think, for each project, they need to, meet the criteria. So I rather, if we could come to some sort of agreement specifically about Greenfield North, we want to have a separate conversation about the entire campus. I'm fine with that, but if we can get agreement there, I think that would solve the issue. Thoughts?
I mean, the big one for me is what I was asking for at the last meeting. This is great. This is exactly what I was looking for. The big question still is, as long as staff agrees and we can come to these are the numbers. If these are the numbers, I think we can come to a reasonable conclusion. But then it is a matter of I think it's worthy of looking at the whole campus, as long as there's some reasonable connection. That plan is a good piece that if it does change hands or individual parcels are sold off,
right,
someone else doesn't come in and just build over all the existing
Understood.
recreation space and it goes away.
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about the fair market value of the property. We're going to be all over the place. We already are. So $20,538. My gut tells me that the market has changed a lot over the last 6 months for property, and I realize that the person that you have doing this is well aware of the change in market value. I realize that's an average of 3. I still feel, even taking the highest number of 23,831, to me, that still seems low.
Corey, can I
Sure.
add any?
Sure.
We don't always have the benefit of an actual transaction related to a piece of property that's involved. This piece of property was acquired earlier than that, I think 2012, 2013 period of time. It's a recorded deed.
Yeah.
We can
We
know what
You
the
know-
value is.
You know it now.
I didn't bring it with me
Okay.
this evening, and I didn't expect that
Yeah.
they were going to make a presentation like this, but that is a known number.
Yeah. That's helpful.
I would only say the ordinance speaks to the fair market value of part of that.
Pre-development value of the land.
That's an important distinction. It doesn't say fair market value. And the fair market value of open space that's set aside.
Yeah.
The primary.
So we acquired land on 340 2 years ago.
The mill?
Yeah.
Not quite.
For
but
recreation.
For recreation.
How many years? What was it?
Uh,
I've lost track.
Yeah, I think it was just 2020.
Four-ish.
I think it was 2020.
2020.
Oh.
Yes.
For how much?
It was 300. It's a little over 300,000.
Couple acres
Not even, it's less than an acre with a building on it.
with the building.
Yeah, I think the spirit of the ordinance anyway would be that, you know, where a developer offers and pays a fee in lieu of, that the township then has to use those dollars to go out and buy
Mhm.
property
Right, sure.
that would be of the quality that's necessary to provide recreation facilities.
Right.
So we have, I should say, the board has in the past, when it's available, used the purchase price of the property involved in development. Not saying you have to do that in every case, but you
Yeah.
have done that in the past.
Okay. Okay. There's a little bit of disagreement with what the ordinance says, with the intent and with what we've done. But to me, that number's low. I'm not reading well. Okay, I'm getting a head shake. Glenn, low on that number if we go down that path of fee and lieu.
It's debatable.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's low, Corey. I do, I'm at this point, I'm calling it Exhibit 5 for myself, but you know, the three parcels that we're talking about, Exhibit 1, sorry.
Yep.
You know, the three parcels that we're talking about, you know, are certainly within proximity. You know, but it is 2018. It was a reassessment process, but you know, I think Mr. Stanley's point though does resonate with me, that says, look, this is intended to guide you in determining you know, what fair market value of property would be that you actually are acquiring for parks and open space, for green space. It's not, you know, you're not looking at the fair market value of a parcel you're purchasing to put 615, you know, $2,000 a month apartments and condos on with a pool. And, you know, there is certainly a question in my mind of where that stops. I'm not sure the ceiling is as high as the land that they're acquiring to put the units on. But so I think I have some questions about that. I come back to this issue. Ethan, you asked a good question, and that was, can our staff guide us in this by agreeing, or at least helping us to understand where they're seeing, you know, the foundational item here, and it is, you know, the acreage that we're talking about, you know, that is for primary, for green space, you know, what is staff seeing there? Ralph, what are you and your staff seeing when it comes to the presentation of the acreage in question?
For the whole campus, Greenfield.
I was going back to, I guess you said, let's focus on Greenfield, and Greenfield North. Yeah.
So I think the things that I would disagree with, there is some rounding that has been taken advantage of. It's minimal, but there is rounding. The only spaces that were shown on the plan were the community center pool area and the dog park area. The trail, as they've identified it, through the greenway space is part of the greenway space. The sidewalk area along Ben Franklin Boulevard, Greenfield Road, and Willow Road is, to me, a sidewalk. That's not trail. And I would not include that area as part of the calculation of primary recreation space. To me, then you might as well count Greenfield Road, Ben Franklin, because people need to drive on those roads to get to that area. You know, it'd be the same thing. It's another transportation facility. So I wouldn't use the sidewalks at all.
We would be setting ourselves up for precedent for everybody else.
Sure, everybody's required to provide sidewalks anyway. That is another requirement of the ordinance.
Yeah.
If you just pause there, just, I'm gonna get clarification. The trails versus sidewalks, the definition that's used, is that from the RG? I'm talking about the whole campus. I'm not talking about Greenfield North for just this part of the conversation. The difference between a trail and a sidewalk, is that RGS's definition, or is there a specific definition of what the difference is that?
I have no idea how they determine that. From my perspective, the definition would be if it's, directly parallel to a public road.
Yeah.
Whether it's asphalt, concrete, whether it meanders a little bit or not, that's sidewalk.
Okay.
If it's off into another area around the back of the ponds, off through greenway space, that's a trail.
Okay. So bottom right, that's a trail.
I don't know.
Okay.
The photographer found a way to exclude
parallel
the
to the
nearby
road.
roads.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
this is my personal thing. I have to say, a sidewalk is what our ordinance requires.
Yeah.
And a developer comes in and puts that in. Whatever it looks like or
Well,
whatever sizes. but-
In those areas in the overall campus, except for the newer developments, it wasn't required at the time. So that's why they weren't there originally.
So it wasn't required at the time.
Correct. Sidewalk was not part of the requirement at that time.
And so the meandering paths and things were put in and they weren't required.
Eventually. Now, more recently, they put in a lot more based upon that plan that was reported. And those are, parallel to, directly adjacent to public streets. They're just like what everybody else would think of as sidewalks. And that's the way I would do them.
And we've allowed sort of meandering asphalt paths, it just go out 340 on a couple of little developments
Sure.
where we've said, but we've counted it to meet the sidewalk requirement
Correct.
Yeah.
because it's going
Mhm.
parallel to the road.
Fairly close.
Yeah.
But one of those
Well,
is
one's
high.
Yeah, right.
No, I,
Yeah.
that's why I'm leaning that way, Ethan, is,
Yeah.
if this body accepted whatever someone, doesn't matter, this applicant or anybody, hey, I'm going to present this and you've got an ordinance that requires me to put in sidewalks. And we went, okay, that meets our definition. That's a sidewalk.
So Hutch, back to you. So basically what I'm hearing is that you don't, you've given some examples of, Ben Franklin Boulevard on the north side. That's just on the road. That's a sidewalk.
Yep.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. And the same for the area along Greenfield and along Willow.
Yeah.
Those are sidewalks. The measurement of the community center pool area and the dog park area is generous on the plan. There's areas outside of the fence related to those spaces that was included as primary recreation space, which I wouldn't include. But, again, those are minimal. I didn't try to calculate what those would be. So I think they're a little shorter than what they've presented in terms of primary recreation space. I agree. The Greenway non-primary recreation space, they've got plenty of that.
Okay. So some rounding errors, some stretching of, the sides of the clubhouse, whatever, grass around it. That's, we're at 7.8 acres as the shortage for primary recreation space for Greenfield North. Do you think your rounding and other things gets it to 7.9 or 8.0 or no calculations?
I'm more like 10 acres.
Okay, so you're 10 acres short. 10.03.
I mean, that's significant. Rounding's in the eye of the beholder, sometimes in the eye of the beholder. I mean, I can't speak to the calculations that Ralph has done, but I can tell you that I put Mr. Miller here through the paces on these calculations. He's been at it for a while. He's put a lot of work into this. He's the civil engineer of record for this project. And Dave, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we're confident with the calculations that we provided.
And I think we, even if we go to 10, okay, assume that for the purpose of discussions, we have to be short of 10. One of the ways to satisfy is to construct new recreational facilities. Assuming 10 acres, assuming doubling the value to 40, that's 400,000.
Right.
And the recreational facility constructed are in excess of
3.4. Yeah.
Yes, that's an option that the board has. That's what we're suggesting, that the recreational facilities that are direct benefit of the residents of Greenfield, they utilize, not then utilize township, either existing or future, satisfies the requirements for Park and Rec for Greenfield North. And the other is additional information.
Yeah.
Question, even assuming you go from 7.8 to 10, and they are not demeaning in any way, shape, or form, your calculations. And you double the fair market value, that was the ordinance talks in terms of fair market value, greenway space, fair market value, recreation space, we believe that we satisfy.
So the interpretation of them building other recreational facilities in excess of 3.4 million, does staff agree with that interpretation of the ordinance, that is included in?
No, because it's completely the developer's choice to build a type of clubhouse pool facility that is going to cost that much. The burden, the reason for the ordinance is that a park plan was done, and the burden that was determined as being placed on the community by new development was 0.027 acres of land needed to accommodate the recreation needs of that new residential development. So you're still going to have, the community is still going to have 16.6, by my calculation, 05 acres of burden to provide to accommodate this development. The developer's providing, an acre and a half of primary recreation space, which they should get credit for. And the remainder is still going to be the community's burden to manage into the future.
Expressly satisfy or dedication to construct new indoor existing recreations.
Public facilities.
Does not say that. Either in the ordinance or the definition.
Yeah, that was my question. Is it? Yeah. So.
The language in your ordinance is construct new indoor improved existing recreation.
That is a choice for the board to make.
Okay, thank you for that information. Thank you.
And my brief history here, and I'd love to get the other guys outgoing. I've never even considered construction costs of any of the amenities in satisfying any park or recreation thing. We've done land and we've done fee in lieu of, but I've never even looked at construction costs.
I can't say I've ever heard it as justification for offsetting this obligation. The difference between the 10 acres and the 7.8 or whatever the number is here, Ralph, was that the reduction of sidewalks
I think
as
that's,
part
I
of
think
that? That
that's,
was not a rounding
including-
issue.
I think that's including the sidewalk.
Okay. I guess I had a question was, is anything considered south of Ben Franklin Boulevard as part of the Greenfield North? Nothing.
Ends at Ben
Yeah,
Franklin,
okay.
right? Okay, so let me try to summarize where we're at here. We have two different calculations to answer your initial question, Ethan. For two, David Miller, you have a total of 7.8 shortage of acreage. Hutch, you made a point about the sidewalk plus some rounding, roughly 10 acres or so. I'm hearing some disagreement with if we go down the route of fee in lieu, that fair market value of the property being somewhat more than 20,538. I wrote down 24 just as a round number, you know, based on these higher assessed values. And Mark most recently brought up the point that construction costs could also be at our discretion to go into make up any shortage in open space or fee in lieu of roughly $3.4 million. I agree. We haven't had that discussion with any other developer. They may not have read the ordinances, you know, to the level that Mark did, or, you know, they were just fine with paying the fee and moving on. So we have a few different, and then of course we have the full campus that we could also look at and discuss. So we have options. We can, you know, I don't say guess at the shortage to you know, or agree with Hutch to bring it up to 10. We could come up with a number in between and multiply it by, you know, a fair market value that we all agree and start there. Or we can say the $3.4 million construction cost covers everything and we move on.
Well, I don't think that this board or the previous boards, not to my knowledge, have taken a look at amenities or you know, construction investments that a developer is putting into a plan that they're marketing as the plan itself to, you know, users, to tenants, to buyers, and made the case that this is their investment in parks and open space. I can see that there are, you know, wonderful amenities here that will provide the 615 tenants with recreation, will provide them with open space. I think that's obvious. I don't think any of us can argue with that. But if those amenities weren't being built into this, there's still 615 units there that the ordinance, the law requires. We have some discretion as a board on this matter. So I think, you know, there's a question of, you know, what can we see as a way forward, you know, knowing that the applicant is making a very hard and strong case that the $3.5 million that they're putting into the facility, into the community there, that immediate neighborhood is sufficient enough. I think there's the 24,000. I hate arbitrariness, right, in this stuff, and we shouldn't be. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to go down the path of taking the sale value of that acreage and then tying this to it, because we need to look at what is the equivalent fair market value of recreational space, acreage that we would have to purchase for recreational space. What does that look like? So I think that, the 24,000 to me is an equivalent to these other parcels. I'm willing to go with something that's more firm than not.
So we did purchase, right? We did purchase property way more than that number. So are you saying that the arbitrary 24,000 is too high or too low?
I'm saying, what will we have to pay for land in this neighborhood to put in an acre of park?
I would think substantially higher than $24,000.
But then we have to be honest
Yeah.
about what the ordinance requires of us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the 9.66 acres. Ethan's question is, can staff give us some direction on where they're at in the basic numbers of land? Staff is at 9.665. I went and checked my notes, Ralph. 9.665, I believe, is what staff is saying.
Yeah, that was giving some credit for the Heritage Pathway.
We're giving some credit for Heritage Pathway. Okay.
So yeah, 10 acres total. If you give some credit for that, I was down.
Okay. 9.6656. Okay. I guess one last point, Corey. I'm not sure. I'm not really making conclusions for you. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking through it, but this point number 4, my fourth point that I brought up.
I was waiting for you to bring that.
This issue of the saldo.
Density.
We're driving towards higher densities, and we're saying let's go up. Well, I think there has to be some recognition that may be causing us to kind of run counter to our saldo. I'd be interested in Ethan's thoughts on that. Ethan, what are your thoughts of this idea that the saldo requires this? We're driving for higher densities. We're looking for higher densities. Do you see any conflict or any challenge there?
Well, our saldo is up it needs to be updated, and staff's working on it. They've actively, but so it's one of, would I recommend we maintain our current practice in the new saldo? No, but unfortunately we're stuck under the current saldo. Right. So it's one of, when we move to address that, and it is one of, when you look at how we've spent parkland dollars, we have bought new acreage, but we've also invested in updating our current parks so that you can park more people, so that you can have more people utilizing that same amount of recreation space. So we've increased it. Every time we update our parks, we're increasing the density of number of people who can use the park at the same time. So that is how we're handling it, because there's not much land left that we can pick up. We've bought what we can. So taking some sort of fee in lieu of and applying it to increasing our quality of our parks, I think is good. But what that fee is, we have a large degree of latitude. I mean, the disturbing part to me, which is it's hard to have a discussion when we can't agree on what the facts under discussion are, and we're off, and we're not. Staff and the applicant are not even on the same universe. I mean, we're even just on Greenfield North, we're off by 100%. And if we take that 100% to the whole business park, we'd be here for 3 days going through all of these and arguing about it. So I was hoping we'd be a little closer on that, but we're pretty far apart. But it is one of, we've got, I mean, we've heard from staff up to, we're at a high end estimate of a fee in lieu of at 480 and a low end at 160. We're at 10.03 acres they need to make up at a high end versus 7.8 at a low end. Mm-hmm. But then there's what can we accept towards, we have a new recreation facility, which I think you brought up earlier. So the big one is we have a new Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway going in. The applicant that's going to be an amenity for the entire community and beyond. And they've made an investment into that of $250,000. So that's a chunk of cash that I'm willing to accept as part of this fee in lieu of to get us somewhere. But I think that if we're going to try to wrap this up, we need to find a number that we're comfortable with and the applicant's comfortable with, because I like what they did here. And I think if we could get on the same page of agreeing on these numbers, we could get somewhere too, but I don't see that happening based off of what staff said.
Well, help me with the 100% number. I'm seeing 7.8 as the shortage from.
They have provided 3.8 and Ralph has provided 1.53.
Oh, so that 1.5.
The disagreement is over what's provided.
Yeah, right. Understood.
It's the issue of the sidewalks. I
Yeah,
think is-
yeah. The sidewalks
Sidewalks
seems to be the biggest
the
issue.
dog, what's also, if you're taking here's where people are designed to be recreating versus here's the amount of grass. And again, that's we should agree on that at some point. I never stay in the fences
Do you
anyway.
have a recommendation?
I don't know enough about what's, I mean, I'd have to look at a GIS map and actually measure stuff myself to get to where I don't have the background to be able to say which one's right at this point.
Applicant is saying 7.8 acres open space shortage.
Recreation space.
Well, the greenway space, everyone agrees.
Yeah,
that-
everyone agrees it's greenway
Yeah,
space.
So
Yeah,
you're talking about
greenway space
7.8
is-
or 9.665.
Well, that's including,
That's, I get it. That's
The way that they
the Greater
got
Lancaster
there is the
Heritage
question,
Path.
right? Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the 7.8 versus the 9.66.
Right, me too. Yeah. Mark, do you have something to add? Or are you just standing? You're still listening. Okay, so
Use your mic, please.
Sorry, Mark, we've got press on the line there, Mark.
Surplus. Is all the sidewalks. That's about 4 tax. So the numbers just don't know. Which further might. We got our calculations that.
Well, what I included in mine was simply the community center building, pool area, and the dog park. That's all that's provided.
You're missing the
on the-
courtyards between the buildings. You're missing other important areas that were calculated.
Which information has not been provided to the township.
I'm sorry.
There's nothing on this plan that suggests what, if anything, is going to be in these courtyards, as you call them.
Well, no, I think we did. You got the record. You can show this exhibit. It's shown as green, but I know we discussed, we made the point that the design of the courtyard is not complete, still isn't complete. But there will be, we went through the fact that there will be recreational amenities within those courtyard areas. That's why they included, and I mentioned them tonight, as we discussed the cost estimate. There's going to be bocce courts, there's going to be cornhole, there's going to be a number of different amenities within those spaces. So we counted the courtyards in all three of the buildings. You know, one other point I just want to make, and I know we've covered a lot of territory, and I appreciate the board hearing us, walking through all the feedback you've given us. I guess I was more prepared for the overall campus discussion. We spent a lot of time working on that.
Yep.
Following the meeting on September 20th. I do take issue with the notion that this project is going to work township with 16 acres of space that it provided. I take issue with that. We talked at length tonight, showed these photos. There are hundreds of photos that could have brought. We selected for example. You've got 90 acres of what is essentially a private park in the township that's funded entirely by the statues, the amenities, the pavilion, all the exercise stations, the programs that you're seeing that carry out on a regular basis. We do that not only for the tenants of the community, but we also do it for the public walks, public use. So I do take issue with that. I think that's an important point. And it relates to the bigger context that we're trying to share.
Yeah.
I just, it's something that I've got to put on the table. And certainly,
Appreciate that.
not
Sure. Okay. I'd be comfortable with taking a value 23,831, which is the highest of the three. I mean, I think the market's changed. I don't think that's an opinion. I think it's a fact. Multiplying that by 7.8 acres, which would come to 185,881, not far from the 160, 196. Put that out there. You guys can agree, can disagree, can make a motion. Fine for more conversation. I mean, I do value the 250 in the engineering for the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway, 3.4 million, realizing it's not for the public. And again, not taking into account the entire campus.
So you're proposing 188 for fee in lieu of?
Yeah, 185,881. 23,8. I'm gonna check my math again. I believe I did 23,831. Yeah,
Yeah.
did I do that right? 23,831 times 7.8. 185,881. 185,882.
To get to,
if I can ask, how does that take into consideration the contribution for the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway?
I mean, it doesn't. Clearly, that number is higher. I think what it takes into account is not upping to 10 acres and not upping it to what I think is probably in the 40 to 50,000 per acre range.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I could spend a lot more time talking about the Greater Lancaster Heritage Path, the efforts that on behalf of that project. If you're going to use that in any way as an offset or consideration, I think at a minimum, the full value of 250,000 is worth mention beyond the paper. There has been a ton of work, a lot of places in order to make that happen over many, many years. It's just not something I'm comfortable with. That's
What is your offer?
We stand by the request that we initially made. Yeah, after discussing this with council and thinking this through, I more than anyone I want to bring this to, but we're far apart. We're clearly apart on some issues. I think we're coming closer, but we're review this again, see if we can get closer. And, not the outcome, certainly not. I think given what's on the paper, that's
Yeah, I mean, we're fine, continue to negotiate, but we're also fine if you want to table it. It's up to you.
You get a motion to table, or
We can,
is it already extended?
unless anyone else says any other offers you want to put on the table.
No,
Yep.
they have till March 31st.
the extension was May 3rd.
May 31. I'm sorry.
Say that again. I thought I was following you, but for the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway. Yep. Yep.
I would be comfortable.
Okay, so just for the board, just make sure I'm hearing it correctly. Your approximate fair market value pre-development is 160,000. You're saying credit 250,000 to, of course, cover that 160. Therefore, there would be no additional fee in lieu of.
Correct.
Okay. Does the board think about that?
We have never had a developer designate where the park and rec funds go to. So would we expose ourselves to precedent if we do that?
Touch any,
We,
I mean,
I can tell you,
restricted.
I can tell, before Ralph answers that, I can tell you that we certainly had ourselves in a situation in the past several years where we utilized funds believing that we were well within the bounds of the ordinance and law to invest in township-wide parks, recreation, open space. And we actually
And the courts
won that court case.
Right.
I mean, I guess let me just say to the applicant, without a doubt, I absolutely recognize every penny that went into the GLID. Absolutely recognize it. There's zero desire for me to gloss over that and take advantage of a situation that is absolutely recognized. I think I'm going to go back to Ethan's point, and we've all made it. Ethan's one who began it, is we have a chasm between staff and the applicant on these acreage, and then we have a chasm on fair market value. So I was looking at a point that staff came to that set a number of over $400,000, and I'm saying 250 off the 400,000. I think it's still too high, and that's how I was looking at. Use a figure of 24,000 per acreage, and we come to the 185,000, 183,000. I certainly wasn't looking at this as everything that staff is presenting, every argument that staff is making, a case that staff is making based upon some precedent, and saying, well, that's worth $160,000. And that would be taking considerable amount of effort that staff has put into this to get to their position and saying, I don't value that at all. I don't think that I can do that. So that 400,000 less the 250 puts us, at a number that I'm trying to recognize, a fair market value that I think is less than where staff was, but I just don't think that I'm ready to act on it. I just don't see it.
Well, they made a proposal. They have time to
Yeah.
work with staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's the big one of, if these numbers, if staff can get to some agreement on what these numbers are, I mean, here we're 0.9 acres difference.
Right.
In between the primary recreation space. That's a narrow gap. That's closable. As long as staff agrees that the campus wide is currently 32.6, which based off of just a disagreement on Greenfield North, I'm going to say that they probably disagree with the total. But if we can get to some agreement on that, then it's like, if I accept this, then it's a pretty easy one. We got 0.9 acres to make up. We could call this a night, but everything I've heard and read from staff says that they don't agree with these numbers. So if there can be some agreement either on fair market number or the total campus provided acreage, I think that would be helpful. But yeah, there's a pretty large gap.
I'd love to come closer than that. I want Mark to be able to retire.
Whatever this board does, I am still retired.
Yeah, I mean,
So Ethan, you went back to the overall.
yeah.
I still go with
There's
like this.
disagreement
This
there.
makes sense. This document here.
Yeah.
The problem is staff doesn't agree with this number.
Yeah. See, that's based upon our conversation in September. Every minute Tony put into this was a value, because I was here going, we're
Yeah, this is
there.
great.
Let's go. We've
This
got
looks good.
this.
And it's one of, so that's the number we need to get to some agreement either on that number or the fee in lieu of number, because
Yeah.
You've done the same, Mark. You're just standing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm not hearing that we're going to come to some sort of agreement, unfortunately.
I'm hearing the applicant present that they are willing to
see if
hold
they can
off
down
and
work.
sit down with
Yeah.
staff again. So I'm
Yeah.
willing to allow that.
Yeah,
too.
I'm hoping,
Want to.
I'm hoping that conversation can lead to either, hopefully a very close delta or no delta. Magic.
I don't think there's a motion.
No,
I
I
don't
think
think we
yeah.
need to table.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no motion on the floor,
Right.
so you don't really need to table anything.
Yeah.
okay.
Because there's no
I'll just
motion.
ask applicant if there's any other, do you guys have any other information you want to add? Okay. Absolutely.
want a
Yeah,
sidebar?
I'm going to take,
Go.
I'm going to take a break.
Take a
We'll
sidewalk.
call 5-minute break.
Go
I'll
ahead.
be right back.
Go ahead, guys.
Okay. I'm going to turn my microphone off.
gonna come, yes. So I'll be here, got that, I said, we like one night. I remember that. That's professional.
Okay, we're gonna move on with the agenda. Thank you, Hutch, for that. I think my microphone's back on. Actually, it looks like the light isn't on mine. It died. Not to be on. Or does it have to be on? Okay. Blue light. Sound okay. You guys are back. We're not going to go with the rest of the agenda, gentlemen. Anything you'd like to? Okay. Okay. Please.
We would offer to the board's consideration because what we heard was staff is making or raising the recommendation potentially $400,000. That's what I heard.
You said something in the 400 range.
Yeah, there's a you know, a recommendation by staff that there's a certain amount of acreage, and that certain amount of acreage is potentially a fair market value of a certain point. And that total could be somewhere in the $400,000 range.
With that number, we would offer for the board's consideration payment in lieu of $400,000 credit. All soft costs, pre-engineering, Lancaster, heritage capital. $150,000 credit for a balance to be paid per building permit application. So $30,000 per building at the time of
So $30,000 times 3. Is that what you're saying?
30,000 times 5.
5, I'm sorry, which would equal $0. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I got you. I'm sorry, my math is off today. Got it.
Sorry. Will the townhouses be built last?
I'm not even looking at townhouses, I'm looking at the five.
I say 5 is the 5
I
highway.
understand, but the townhouses are part of the 651.
Right, but we're not gonna break it into that, we'll look at 150 that we pay in addition to the 250 credit. And they would be paid when building permits for the 5 main buildings.
And that's why I ask if the townhouses are going to be built last. Because if they're being built first, then we're not getting anything.
They're
And-
not being built. They're likely to be built.
Yeah, I heard that by fall of 2023, we were going to have one of the high rises up. You were aiming for that. That was back in September.
Okay, so 400,000, you don't need something to say? Nope. 400,000 minus the 250,000 for the engineering fees for Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway and $30,000 for each of the 5 buildings.
As
At that
each,
time.
at
At
each time, one
occupancy.
gets
Yep.
its building permit.
Yeah,
As each of the buildings
Yep.
would be evenly divided between the apartment building. As each gets its building permit.
okay. Board?
Basically, that is in it's a difference of about 10,000.
$10,000 from the original
Identified.
pre-development fair market value of 160. Less is less than my calculation of 185, but we're in the ball.
No,
Please.
I agree. We're certainly in the ballpark.
I like it.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay,
Need a motion?
yep,
I move that we accept the proposal by the developer to pay a fee in lieu of land dedication for $30,000 for each of the 5 main buildings, building permits.
Can I suggest just a modification?
Sure.
on that, Dave? Is that we're accepting a fee in lieu of $400,000, recognizing a credit of 250,000 the applicant has
I like that.
expended towards
Yeah.
the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway, leaving the 150,000
Yep.
remaining.
Yep.
And we would accept that $30,000 per each one of the multifamily buildings
Yeah.
as the building
Permits would be
occupancy
issued.
permit came up.
Yeah.
is it the occupancy permit?
It's a building permit.
Building permit.
Building
Building
permit,
permit, yeah.
building permit.
Okay.
You would need that before you start.
Sorry. building permit.
Kara, are you taking notes or does that, I agree with John's
We'll accept John's
edit.
edit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so motion was made and seconded. I just want to make sure applicant understands and we described it. Yep. 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 That's correct. Why do you say so moved on that? 'Cause that was perfect.
Yes, so moved.
Okay. Motion made. Is that okay, Dave?
I'm fine.
Hodge?
Before you vote.
Okay,
I just-
we just have a second.
This is covered in the ordinance, but I want to make sure it's understood by everybody. When the last of the five $30,000 payments is made, that's when the 3-year clock begins
To expend.
for the township to expend all of the dollars.
Good. Okay. That makes
I
sense.
just want to make sure
That's
everybody
great.
understood that.
Everyone agrees. Yeah.
It's good. It's,
Okay, motion made, second, I think. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
can I just make one last comment?
Sure. Any comments from the board? You're the board?
I don't think any of us overlook the unbelievable
Absolutely.
opportunity that this township and our county has from the investment that the high companies makes, represented by a brief set of images here and plans and visions, the vision that they cast. It's the intention they go about achieving that vision. It's the investment that they make in making it absolutely the best kind of facility that they can. And there's no doubt in my mind, Ben Franklin Boulevard, the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway, everything about this will have tremendous green space, will have wonderful parks and recreation, will be an amenity for the community for 50 years to come. And I don't want this to pass without saying that this is the biggest development that we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we need to recognize that the high companies are stepping up to work with this community to make it happen.
Totally agree. Thank you, John, for that. Okay. Any other comments? Motion is made, second. No other comments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I would like to first. Practicing. Specific. Congratulations.
You better say the same to him. Same to you, Mark.
Mark, I do
really appreciated all the exchanges we've had over the years
great.
too.
I got 2 granddaughters, grandson.
Yeah. I know Glenn has grandchildren. I have 9 of them, and it doesn't get better. Doesn't get better than that.
Where are you going to be, Mark? Are you staying in Central PA? Are you going back out west? Or? Okay. Well, we were talking before, and I think I remember your first presentation in about 93 at one of the Walmart hearings at the Smokehouse Elementary School. I think I was about 25 at the time, and you were 27. And I tracked you from there. You have been involved in more stuff in this community, probably just about as much as Matt Cream has been. I'm telling you. So a community like ours, a community of any kind, is well served by legal professionals like yourself who are top notch, who come at it with all seriousness, all determination, but a professionalism that says, I got to do something right by my client, but we're in a community and I got to make sure I do that right too. I've never seen you drop the ball. I don't know, maybe we defeated you once or twice.
Yeah.
I don't remember. No, but you're absolutely a tremendous asset to this community, and I'm sorry we're losing you. Definitely.
I wrote a few comments for you, Mark. So just
Oh, no.
Here we go.
I didn't know this.
So like Ali versus Frazier, we've had the opportunity to see some heavyweight battles from the front row. Mel Newcomer, Matt Cream, and Hutch, all formidable opponents in your battles over country ends, land use, and zoning requirements. You're always well prepared, calm in your demeanor, fair in your ask. This board and boards before it may not have always agreed with you, but I can tell you that every time we had the opportunity to have you in front of us, we learned and respected your craft. Thank you for your service to the community. As John said, clients were well served, and I believe we have a better township based on your counsel you provided them over the many years. So enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the night. Hutch, what number are we up to? Eight?
You're on new business. Mr.
Okay, we're on
Chairman.
new business. 8A, this is try to get home by 11. Time extension for township action.
We'll be home
Plan-
before this is built.
Plan 2128 Sundance Car Wash, 1728 Lincoln Highway. This is just they're granting us some time.
Right, they need more time
Second.
to address comments.
Okay, motion made by Glenn, second by Ethan. Any other comments from the board or the public? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, 9A, resolution regarding comprehensive plan amendments, Bridgeport recreation plans. Such.
So these two plans, important planning documents that were completed in the last year, 2 years for our Park and Recreation Plan, which is a regional plan, Conestoga Valley Plan, and the Bridgeport Crossroads Plan, which we did also regionally with our planning partners that also share space in that Bridgeport area. And we want to add those plans to the existing comprehensive plans that we have in place so that they are part of those comprehensive plans and utilize them as planning documents going forward and work to implement those plans. So to do that, the board would consider adoption of a resolution which serves the purpose of incorporating these two plans into the two regional comprehensive plans that we also participate in.
Okay, properly advertised. It's been-
Yeah, that was an adventure, but it finally was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And the township solicitor, yep, so
Oh, no, I'm letting Dave and Glenn say it. from now on.
Glenn motion made, Ethan second. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Hutch. American Rescue Plan Act.
Yes, I just want to provide the board with some additional information. We've looked at everything that's available at this point in time in terms of guidelines that have been offered by the federal government about how to calculate the lost revenue amounts. And we feel that the 2019 as a base year is what we need to use.
Mhm.
And then going forward from there, we can properly exclude the stormwater fees that are collected by the sewer authority because of the sewer authority's construction and relationship with the township. So going on that basis, all of the funds that we will be have received and will receive can be considered to be lost revenue. And so the board will be able to transfer those funds into the general fund and use them for what I would recommend would be for police services that have been utilized throughout the pandemic and going forward as it continues. It will generate an additional fund balance that the board will then have the option to figure out how exactly you want to utilize those funds. But initially anyway, as we would move those funds, they would be for police services.
Okay.
If there's any new information that comes out that would change our view on that, we'll certainly let the board know. There is legislation pending that you wouldn't even have to do a lost revenue calculation. It would just, if you got less than $10 million, all of it would be considered lost revenue. So if that happens, then it's sort of a moot point.
Right.
We'll have to see how that progresses.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to mention, after the board's discussion at your last meeting related to the zoning issues that were raised, I did provide a written response to the board today. I'm sorry it was later than I would have liked. Don't expect that you want to have that conversation this evening, but if there are any questions, and
Is that okay?
whenever you want to have that conversation, I'm ready to have it. The last thing, if I may, and I didn't,
please.
I didn't include it on here, just to share my thoughts and appreciation for Dave and Glenn.
Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate to have been able to work with tremendous people on this board. And Glenn and Dave are right there at the top of the list of those people. And really appreciated it and all you've done for me. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Kind words.
Thank you. Good luck with your surgery and take your time.
I'll keep you
I know
informed.
you'll be back soon after, but staff, you have great leadership and
Yes, we do.
we'll be fine. Okay, I will accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you,
Second.
Glenn. Second by Dave. Any other public comment for that motion? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you. Wow. Sorry.